This week's episode is sponsored by dailygiving.org. Great organization, gives out tens of thousands of dollars a month in incredible organizations. How? Well, they give out $1 a day on your behalf. Think about that. Every day someone gives out charity for you. And $1 doesn't mean much, at least in charity-wise, to help people. But when you combine it with everybody else, it changes the world. Check it out, dailygiving.org. Dailygiving.org. This week's Torah portion is one of my favorite because it has one of my favorite characters of all time, Joseph. And Joseph is the greatest story. He's the story of rags to riches. It's the underdog of underdogs. Joseph is the story of the kid who got sold at 17 years old, got put into a slave trade, life totally thrown away, somehow managed to overwhelm all of the odds, rise to the top, and at 30 years old becomes the second in command to Pharaoh, the most powerful man in the world. In Egypt, the epicenter of civilization at the time. How in the world did he do it? From 17 getting sold to 30 being the most powerful man at the time. What was the secret of his success? Just want to share with you one concept. It's so powerful. I remember learning this and being blown away. The secret of Joseph's success comes way before he becomes royalty. It comes when he becomes a slave. Joseph comes down. Remember the story? At 17 years old, Joseph goes to see his brothers, sent by his father. They sell him down to Egypt, and he becomes a slave to a man named Potiphar, one of the largest, richest landowners and estate owners in all of Egypt. Wakes up the next morning, and now he's a slave. The day earlier, he was sitting at the feet of the greatest man of the generation, Jacob, and now he's a slave. And the verse says, and he became a successful man, and God was with him. And I once heard an incredible idea from a rabbi named Rabbi Mordechai Kamenetsky. He says, a successful man, really? That's what you call success? Wait, the Torah says he's successful? Wait, it doesn't say he's successful when he becomes the second in command to Egypt. Then the Torah's silent. Abraham is considered to be the head of the entire world, fights wars. Isaac, Jacob, Moses. These are great people in our history. The Torah never says they're successful. The word in Hebrew, matzliach, is never used. In Joseph's life, he becomes the second in command. Doesn't say he's successful. Then, the only time you hear the Torah says that someone's successful? When he was a slave in Egypt. Joseph's only mention of success was in the house of Potiphar as a slave. How in the world is that successful? What is the Torah saying? Listen to this idea. Joseph woke up the next morning, and it says that God was with him. What does it mean that God was with him? It means that God was on his lips. It means every time he did something, he prayed. Every time he finished it, he thanked. He was still happy. He walked with God. He felt God's presence. Can you imagine? 17 years at the foot of the greatest man in the world, Jacob. And then you wake up and your brothers sell you. They didn't send you to boarding school. They sell you on slave trade to death. You wake up the next morning and they throw cold water on your face 3 a.m. and they tell you to clean the toilets. You know what you should be thinking if you're a human being? This is my life. It's over. Woe is to me. How come this is happening? Where's God now? I did everything right, God, and this is what you did to me? You know what Joseph says? I am where I am. Let me make the best of it. God, please help me clean the toilets. God, please be with me when I make the tea. God, please be with me when I clean up wherever they want me to clean up. And when he's done, he goes, thank you. Joseph wakes up in the morning and goes, I'm not God. I don't know his plans. My job is to be the best where I am right now and to find joy in every moment and to find happiness and challenge and to know that he's got a plan. That's his business. My business is happiness now, greatness now, empowerment now. That's all I got to worry about. Make this a great day. Make this a great hour. Put God with me, even in darkness. Hanukkah, light in darkness. And God looks down and sees Joseph at 17 wake up in the worst environment in the world and say to himself, let's make it great. Let's bring God in. I'm going to be the best slave that I can be. And God goes, wait a second. You're making this world in front of you as great as it can be. You're not sitting around moping. You're not sitting around yelling at me. You know what I think you are, God says? I think you are successful. Because what's success in God's eyes? Money, God gives money. Wisdom, God brings wisdom to people. What is success? Likes, fans, friends. You know what success in God's eyes is? It's how you live in this world. It's how you react to him. It's how you navigate the world in front of you. When Joseph turned and said, I'm making every moment great, God says that's success. And that is more success than when you're the head of the world. And that's more success than whether the world sees you or not. Because being successful in life is being able to look at our lives and make it as great as humanly possible, whether people realize or don't, whether we get honored or not, whether it's light or whether it's dark. When a Jew gets up and says, today is going to be the best day of my life. When a Jew gets up and says, every circumstance I'm going to try to make as good as possible. When we stop worrying about God's problems and start worrying about us and saying, how do I make this relationship amazing? How do I make this kid amazing? How do I make this job amazing? How do I deal with the fact that I don't feel well, but I'm going to make I'm going to be as happy as I can? How do I overcome challenge with a smile and empowerment? And with God next to me, God looks down at you and says, you're the most successful person in the world. I see you. I don't care if nobody sees you. I see you. That's real success in his eyes. That's what made Joseph Joseph. Because he was Joseph from the beginning of his life. His mother passed away at 8. He tried his hardest. Dreams to be bigger. His brother sold him at 17. He tried his hardest. They put him in false imprisoned him in jail at 19. Tried his hardest. Wherever he went, Joseph came in and said, let me just make this the best that it can be. Every moment of every day. That's our challenge. Not to worry about when is it going to be my turn. Not to look at the treadmill of life and go, how come he or she's ahead of me? Not to ask 12 steps down the road, to wake up in the morning, to go through life and try as hard as we can to go, how do I make this the best day of my life? How do I bring happiness into this world? How do I overcome this challenge? How do I become successful in God's eyes? Because when we start to think about being successful in God's eyes, which is how we deal with everything in front of us, then we become really successful in our eyes.